Hi guys, I'm Alexandra from the website largefamilymama.com, and today I am starting my brand new knitting series. This is a series that is designed to help children learn to knit, or to help you teach your children to learn to knit. So I'm going to be starting with the absolute basics today, right from the beginning. This is something that children can start doing. Well, it depends on every child's different, but from the age of say 2 or 3 they could actually start with this lesson and get used to using their hands and the yarn, and it will prepare them for knitting properly later on. All you are going to need for this lesson today is some yarn. Any yarn, probably a medium thickness would be best, but any yarn that you've got is great. And we're just going to start off with simple finger knitting today. And this is going to be a whole series, and I'm going to take you through each step of how to gradually get to the point where you can knit completely independently, following a pattern or creating your own patterns. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the future episodes in this series. And each time I teach you a new skill where we are working towards knitting, I will also include a project that you can make, something useful, because that, I think, gives children a real sense of achievement, gives any of us a real sense of achievement. So if you want to be teaching your children knitting, perhaps as part of their homeschool curriculum, then this series will be of great benefit to you. So the first thing we need is our ball of yarn. We don't need to cut anything off, keep the yarn as it is. And then we need to start by making a slip knot. So the easiest way I think to do this is to lay your yarn out on the table and then pull the tail across to make a circle, and then you get the tail and you tuck it underneath the circle, so it's running underneath the middle of the circle. See, the circle comes up there. Then if you are right-handed, you will want to use your left hand first of all to put your finger into the circle, then put the middle bit over the top of your finger, and then your finger to go over the top of the circle on that side. Then you hold the tail and the yarn from the wool and you gently pull. Now you've got your knot there, that's fine. It's called a slip knot because you can just slide it up to anywhere you want. So you want to pull it up a little bit so it's on your finger but it's still slightly loose. Now when your child first starts finger knitting, you could do that bit for them and just put that on their finger like that for them. That's fair enough, and they can learn to do a slip knot by themselves a bit later on. Or they could start by practicing the slip knot straight away. That could be the first thing that you want them to master. Then it's very simple. You take the yarn in your right hand. Obviously this is opposite if you're left-handed, but I'm just showing you as a right-handed person. So you hold it in your right hand, and then with your left hand, with your middle finger and your thumb, you pinch the tail just to hold that out of the way. Then you wrap the yarn over your finger, and then also bring that to where you've pinched the tail between your middle finger and your thumb, and then you pull the yarn, this bit here that's away from your fingernail, the furthest away from your fingernail one, you pull that over the top of the other one, and then you're left with a bit like that, and you just gently pull till it's a little bit tighter, so it looks more like this. Then again you hold the tail with your thumb and middle finger and you repeat. So you get the yarn that's directly from the ball of yarn and you wrap it around your finger and you hold it where you hold the tail as well with your middle finger and your thumb. You take the bit of yarn that's furthest away from your fingernail and you pull over, then you gently pull it a bit tighter again, not too tight, you really don't want to do this too tight, slide it how you want it to be, Always try to keep hold of the tail if you can. And repeat. And you just keep on doing that until you have made a chain as long as you want. So wrap it over, hold it there, pull it over, and then this is where you need to learn how tight you want this to feel. You'll learn that just with trial and error, but you'll gradually get a feel for it and know how tight you want that to feel. And you can see there it's starting to look a bit like a plait on one side. So just keep going. So when that goes over, I first of all pull the chain bit down till it's a comfortable tension, and then I slide this bit back up by pulling this long piece here up towards my finger, so the chain goes up towards my finger a bit more. I'll just show you again. So we'll pull that over, and then to make this bit a bit tighter you just pull on the chain, and then when you want this to move up towards your finger more, you slide it along this piece here like that, and then if you turn it over you can see that it's making a plait kind of pattern. So when children have got the hang of this, it's a very kind of meditative thing for them to do. Helps them to calm down, keep still for a little moment. If they keep running around, they can just sit still and concentrate on finger knitting. But at first it is very, very frustrating. It was with my children anyway. And you might feel like you want to give up and that they're never going to be able to do it, but just keep on showing them, helping them do it until they get the hang of it, and then they will feel such a sense of achievement. And it is only natural that they're going to find this extremely awkward and fiddly at the beginning. It's completely alien to how they've ever used their hands before. So try to be patient as you can be, and perhaps only try for say 5 minutes a day, and then after a few days you will start to see a little bit of improvement and a little bit more time that they are able to concentrate for, and eventually they'll be doing this without even looking. They'll just be so fast. And you probably won't have enough yarn in the house. You're going to have to be buying loads of yarn to keep them happy. And you might be thinking, how on earth is this finger knitting ever going to help with actually knitting with needles? But it helps enormously. It helps, for a start, it will help your child have more control of their hands. Secondly, it really helps them to get a feel for how to get the right tension, the right tightness of knitting, and not to pull too hard or not to leave it too loose. So it is really beneficial, really, really helpful in preparing for knitting with needles. It's also really helpful to prepare for crocheting as well, because this is very similar to crocheting, much more similar to crocheting I would say than knitting. Now, as I said previously, It's always really encouraging for children to know that they are doing this for a reason. It's not just, you know, that there's not going to be no point to it. There's definitely going to be a point to it. So you want to be able to use the chain that they create to make something, and there are endless possibilities as to what you could make with this. Some things that my children have made in the past are jewellery. You know, they've made a bracelet or a necklace, because you can add beads in when you do this as well. You don't have to, you could just leave it as a chain. They have made little snails. They've rolled them up and made snails, and they've rolled them up and made flowers and stuck them onto sticks and put them in a vase as a little decoration. Today I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily turn the chain into a coaster for your cup, and then when your child sees you using that coaster, or they use that coaster, they will feel an enormous sense of pride and want to create more things and get ideas of more things that they could make with their chains. Alright, so I will show you in a moment how we can sew this into being a coaster or any other thing that you would like. And if you do make anything with your chains and you get the time to take a little photograph of it, please do share it on Instagram and use the hashtag #LargeFamilyMamaKnitting, and then I will definitely have a look and see what you've been doing. It'd be great to see. There's so many possibilities, so many colour combinations. I think it's really important that if you can possibly get a natural yarn for your child to use, I think that's really beneficial. That'll be very beneficial for them. So if you can, then use a wool yarn or cotton or even string made from hemp, just something that's natural rather than acrylic or nylon or, you know, something plasticky like that. I think it's so much nicer for children to work with good quality natural products. And if you're on a budget, you can always go to a charity shop or a thrift store and you can buy second-hand jumpers and or hats or whatever that are made from wool or cotton, and you can just unpick them and reuse that yarn. So that is a cheap way to be able to do it if you are on a really tight budget, but there's usually a way you can work these things out. So as you go along, you can coil it round to see when you've got to the point where you've done enough to make the thing that you want to make. So I think I have done that now. Then when you have enough, you know that you can stop. These projects won't always be done in one day, especially with young children. They're going to take a long time, and this is something that they could work on over days or weeks. So when you want to pause, you can just put a pencil in where your finger would normally go and pull that tight, and then you can put that away and leave it until you're ready to use it again. So when you've made your chain as long as you want to make it, you just cut the end and then you poke the end through the hole where your finger was and just pull it, and that's secure now. So now we need to create our coaster. I've cut a length of yarn, and you can get these big plastic sewing needles for children if you feel like they need to use one of those, or you could just use one of these needles, which is usually used to assemble knitted items. It's really blunt, so it's fine for young children. So you do need to make sure that you do have a needle with an eye big enough to thread your yarn through, because it would be quite annoying to get to this stage with really thick yarn but then not have a needle that you could thread it through. So make sure that you have one that you can use. Now we're going to assemble our coaster. So you can do the sewing for your child, or again you can show them how to do it and then they can do it themselves. But when they're really, really young, maybe you just want to do it for them to begin with. Don't worry about these tails, they'll be cut off soon. But what we are doing now is we're just going into the first bit of the chain, and we're going to go so through there, leave a little bit here and go through the same bit again, and we're going to do that 3 times just to secure it there. So that's 2 and then 3, so that's nicely secure and attached. And then we're going to start sewing this together as we coil it round. So we've started off here, and then we're going to go, you know, a few chains along. This is not an exact science, you just play it by eye, just see what works for you. So on one side I'm doing longer stitches, and then on the side, this side, I'm doing shorter ones. So here's a short stitch on this side, and then you kind of want to go back into the beginning bit, but also into a new piece of chain that's coiled around. And you just keep doing a stitch in the chain and then attaching it to the coiled piece so it can pull round. So through the chain, and then back through the chain and then through the coil. And as I said, this is not an exact science, you just piece it all together. It might look a bit messy to begin with, but in the end it will look fine. If you really haven't got the patience for sewing, you could always use a hot glue gun and just coil it round and do dots of glue and do it that way. Whatever works best for you. And there you can see how it's looking, and we're just going to continue like that until we've done the whole thing, and it will be a nice coaster. So I will come back in a minute when I have finished the whole coil. And then once you've sewn it all together, it should look something like that, something that you can put your cup on or your mug. And does it look like a perfect thing that has come out of a factory? No, but that's the lovely thing about homemade things, is that each piece is completely unique, and I think they look a lot nicer than something from a factory. So yeah, that is how you can make a coaster from finger knitting. So I really hope you enjoyed the first episode in this series of learning how to knit, and I hope that you will subscribe so you don't miss any more, and we will have new projects and techniques next week. If your child is learning the finger knitting from a really young age, then I would stick to just finger knitting for a long time, a year maybe, and just do lots of different projects with the finger knitting before you move on to the next stage. But if your child's a bit older, or they're really good at finger knitting and want to progress, then fair enough, you can progress whenever you want. But yeah, with young ones I wouldn't push them too hard, I wouldn't push them at all, just let them enjoy it and just have fun with it. So as this is a new channel, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment and subscribe. That would really help my channel, and I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching, bye.